Hello, I'm Sally Fitchard and I live in the UK, pretty much centrally in the country, in a county called Staffordshire, in a market town called Newcastle-under-Lyme. I'm a ceramic sculptor and I've got a studio at the bottom of my garden, which is where I work most of the time. I think it would be fair to say that there hasn't or there wasn't any practice to start with. I was reacquainted with clay about 2.5 years ago, happily. Um, and all that mattered at that point was just being with the clay, forming it, just getting familiar. I think now, because it's been a prolific period, that I could now articulate that what I'm doing is, well, it's certainly really expressive and it's always gravitating towards figurative. So it's very much about humans, the relatable kind of imagery of humans, feelings, behaviors, emotions. So the practice is, it pivots around that. And my emotions, of course, not other people's, but hopefully relatable to other people once there's an actual piece of work at the end of it. Yeah. The medium of choice now and forever is clay. It turns out, funnily enough, that it was my choice when I was a teenager. And then I went through college. I graduated with studio ceramics, but then after that, there was a gap of just under 30 years, which is stunning in one respect and not in another, when you just get usurped into practical decisions about living. And but when I started to touch clay again more recently, the memory that came flooding back was not my foundation year or my degree years. It was a little ceramics classroom at school with a really lovely male teacher whose name I don't even recall, and he wouldn't recall me. There was nothing kind of, it wasn't a landmark moment. It was just, the memories were just so fond and they felt happy and they felt safe. And I didn't see it, I didn't recognize it then when I was so young. But I realized that I always had a bond with clay and I just missed that mark. But now it's my medium. It triggers every single sense. It smells wonderful. It's wonderful to touch when it has that kind of plasticity, when it's really wet, when it's leather hard. It echoes. If you create a kind of vessel, you wrap space, it makes them wonderful echoey sounds. It sounds beautiful when it comes out of the kiln and it's a ceramic after it's been, vitrified. And it's just, and it's tactile. It's just lovely. I just love every aspect of it. There's nothing I don't love. So we're in it together forever now. So my process is definitely not prescriptive. It's very much instinctive. I started off by feeling my way around the clay. So I didn't know what I was going to sculpt. I just wanted the sensation of the clay in my hands, to feel contours, to, push it around and begin to manipulate something that felt right or was visually starting to look quite interesting. Now I would say it's still not prescriptive, but I have a little bit more formality around it. I know, for instance, if I'm going to sculpt a bust or a pair of legs, or, there's a little bit of plan there, but I don't actually sketch anything. I haven't decided what the gesturing might be or what the character might materialize as. I still start with that premise and then I just cultivate it from there. So that's pretty much how I work. And I still like to just get a lovely big clod of clay in front of me. And if I'm going to do a full figure, I haven't worked this out yet. This is still a technical problem, which I'm trying to compensate for. But because I still want to push that clay around, and because I don't know what that full figure, I don't even know if they're going to stand or sit or what position they might take. Now that's stretching it a bit with clay, because you're asking it, the more you're manipulating it and moving it around, and the drier, the less water you have in it, you're asking for trouble with cracking and things. So there is a bit of a danger with that, but I still want to work like that for now, and I'll just kind of try and compensate. And We'll work it out together. We're buds. Be okay. Okay, so sources of inspiration are inevitably people, humans, and this actually started. This is kind of learnt behavior, nature, nurture. I don't know, but as a child, this watching people kind of started early because I happened to go to different schools every 2 years, really from the beginning of school, and so the nature of that meant that you start in a new institution with new kids and new staff, and you have to, well, you have to do a little bit of observation because you can't just walk in with big boots and, just attach yourself to people. You have to kind of adapt to an environment where everybody already knows each other. And as a kid, you don't analyze that, you don't give it a second thought, you just do it. But I think on reflection that that process means that you probably study people more. It doesn't mean you have any successful results, doesn't mean you actually you're not a telepath or anything, but you do look at the nuances of people. And then you kind of step your way around and feel your way around people. And that's carried on as through my adulthood. It's completely natural to me. And it's not, it's interesting. I like it. I mean, I actually do like it. I like looking at people and in a non-creepy way. Just kind of, just those lovely little subtle details that we're so good at, all those muscles in your face, and there's a slight change in your expression. And the idea that you could emulate that in clay is just fascinating to me. Mainly because when we're actually talking to each other as real people, we don't constantly look at each other. We don't constantly study every aspect of each other's faces and bodies. I suppose if you put a camera on us, we're moving around a lot and looking at different angles and stuff. So the only luxury moment you get to really study a human face or a gesture is in something that's been painted or is static in a sculpture, and you can enjoy it without imposing. I think it's a bit that. It's like capturing those lovely moments about us, which again, I hope are relatable. So humans are, the core, but I'm inspired by lots of things, but spaces that humans have created. So I do love nature, and I'm in awe of nature like everybody else. But so when you walk into a building that's on a very large scale, and light cascades through it, or it's basically something that activates your emotions. It's just like when you become aware of your body, your size, when you're in a big man-made space. Or, well, I suppose if you're sitting on top of a mountain, it's a very similar thing, but it's just fascinating. And that's another thing that kind of cores in, and materials. So I love linen and cotton and bricks and stuff that you just want to touch and that you just feel is accessible. It's accessible. So my work doesn't have loads of glass, glaze all over it, all that shiny smooth, because it stops me getting to the clay, and I want the clay to be there. I still want to be able to touch its properties.